Hello there guys, it's Joey and welcome back to Working Witch, the series in which we take a look at the physical acts of witchcraft. It can be spell work, it can be crystal grids, it can be mantras, it can be meditations, but this week I'm focusing on a dream wish spell, and it's a little bit like setting an intention, which obviously is one of the premises behind spell work anyway. But this came to me as initially in my dreams before the full moon, and this is a wonderful spell to work to do, or a variant of it, around the full moon. However, it doesn't have to be around the full moon, it's just that full moon lends its power to full manifestation work. Witches are aware of the cycles of the moon, and many live by them and incorporate them into all sorts of things, including magic, but the way of living, the way of spell work. I know that many hedge witches harvest plants and herbs by the moon phases, and so on and so forth. So I actually had a dream, and if you're on the Facebook page you've already seen this, but I thought it would be a really good thing to expand upon. And I had this really lovely dream, and it was full of speckled deer, particularly fawns. There was, I believe, one mother and about 4 or 5, 6 maybe baby ones. It was so gorgeous, and there was also roses and rose buds in particular in this dream. And this is one of the nicest dreams I think I've ever had, because my dreams are a mixed bag. Sometimes I have really horrendous nightmares, sometimes I have kind of odd dreams. I remember a lot of my dream work, and it's like, for example, last night I dreamt that I was in this weird university situation, and it was this very patriarchal, male-based society, and they were very sexist, and most of the women that were getting in and involved were because of how they looked. And I remember that I physically fought one of the guys, like kung fu style, and he had blonde silvery hair, and because I could land so many blows on his chest, as in like with my fists, he took me under his wing. He gave me a gold pendant as a sign of respect, and there was all these tests going on, and there was something to do with my grandpop on one side was mentioned, though I didn't see him. So it was this weird, like, forging self-respect against all odds of patriarchy style dream. It was odd, and that's the sort of dreams that I get a lot. So when I had the dream with roses and fawns in, I was like, oh, that's beautiful, can I have more dreams like that? And what I decided to do in terms of spell work, which is what this is, a dream wish spell is what I'm calling it, is to incorporate those themes, those symbols, into a spell work, into an intention work. And because they represent such beautiful energies, now roses are obviously very symbolic of a lot of things, but with it being, they were pinky red roses, and it being buds, it's very loving, it's very gentle, it's quite feminine, for the most part, and it's very much, you know, blossoming, new beginnings, and healing of the heart in particular, and along those lines. And deer, particularly like fawn babies, deers, are again those sort of beautiful new life, new potential, new beginnings, openings and things. And deer are incredibly gentle, incredibly majestic, incredibly spiritual animals. They have a rich, rich lore encompassing many, many spiritual meanings. There's actually a tie into here, which I can't tell you without spoiling somebody's birthday present. So I can't tell you, but there is more of that energy weaving through, and there is a new product coming along this line, which is actually already created, but again, I can't dish the dirt until Sunday. So their presence, the presence of deer, particularly female deer, deer, oh, no, stop it, right, okay, have been very, very present this week. There's been a lot of deer imagery in general, not just female. There's been quite a lot of stag imagery this week as well. It's been absolutely wonderful. So what I decided to do in terms of the spell work was, well, I'm going to take the aspects of what I dreamt about, because those are all good things. Those are types of magic that I would love to manifest. I would love to engage in a transformational process which honours my subconscious, taking the symbols from my dreams, those very pagan, very witch symbols. A relationship with animals and herbs is something which I hold very dear. Dear puns. And I've talked about this at length, but I feel more connected to animal and plant energy than ever to humanoid energy. And I talk about this in terms of, artwork, in terms of tarot, particularly tarot and oracle. There are certain types of artwork which I really do like a little bit of humanoid imagery in, mainly Morrigan imagery, but for spell work I just find that the energy of plants and animals is just, I guess it's because they are more spiritually free and maybe spiritually clean. I hesitate to say clean, it sounds a bit wrong, but it's kind of like the animals in general behave better than human beings. Human beings, whether you consider them more evolved or less evolved, do nasty things to one another, and that's just the bottom line. Humanity is a mixed bag, and we're all struggling with good and bad parts of ourselves. Hopefully, most of us are, in order to be the best version of ourselves. So I work better with animal imagery and plant imagery and the energies of the spirits attached to those. And therefore I created this intention, this setup. So I hope you can see the card. The card is the Queen of Pentacles from the Wild Unknown, which is my absolute favourite tarot deck. I go back to it time and time and time again. I love it. And I chose this over any other deer imagery because it has that nurturing energy to it. If I zoom in a little bit, I hope you can see it. Yeah, you can see it's just a little bit, the light's a bit vibrant from my angle, but it usually comes out all right on camera. So you can see that there is the mother and her fawn, and they're speckled, which is absolutely perfect. So it's exactly the imagery that was within my dream. And it throws up a little bit more of something for me to consider, that to go away on a personal level and consider the symbolism of the Queen of Pentacles, both in a generalized sense and within a specific sense to this tarot deck. This tarot deck which speaks to my soul so much more than any other, despite me having good relationships with others. The Wild Unknown is the one I keep coming back to. And therefore looking at that very specific imagery that within the card, there's a protective vibe here. There's a protective mother vibration, and to me the protective mother that I have is Mother Morrigan, so it kind of flows into my spirituality that way. You're looking at the deer and she's very alert whilst the baby sleeps, and she's head on and looking at you and making sure that you're behaving yourself and that her baby is safe. And it's an alertness, an awareness, a learned wisdom that comes with this queen energy. And then you also have that baby energy, that protective mother vibration, the connection between mother and child, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful imagery. And I surrounded that with roses, dried roses. These are all wildcrafted from the garden and dried out by me. And I think that made a really beautiful framing for the image. There's then wood on 2 levels. There's the beautiful oak crystal board that Sterling made me and is my most prized possession. I freaking adore this thing. And then there is a silver birch half moon that my sister sent me for my birthday. So 2 pieces of wood grounding the magic into the earth that have energies both from people who I hold dear, from my sister and from Sterling, who I think I'm safe to say is a sister of the craft, I think is a fair way of putting it. So there's that good energy of women that I love and respect here. And I think that's important within the spell work. So it creates a good feminine energy. It corresponds with a good friendship and a good respect of female energies. And it grounds the whole spell work into reality. It gives a wooden earth base for the spell work. And I was talking to someone yesterday about the root chakra, making sure it's cleansed and healed, because that helps you to like ground and manifest things into the reality. So it's very important to have something within your spell work to make sure that it's not all up in the air, all up in the abstract, rather than grounding it down into reality. But you do still want a little bit of that spiritual energy within your spell work, and for that purpose I have the Spirit Quartz here, which is my most recent purchase from Spirit Quartz. And this one, let's zoom in a little, is actually sort of 2 folded into one. It creates a double point, but it's almost like the 2 are embracing, and I really, really love that, and I think it works really well with the energy here. So it creates a sort of a connection. It's like 2 hands holding together. It creates that feeling of love, and it brings in with its Spirit Quartz, which we talked all about last week. If you want to know about the deeper meanings of Spirit Quartz, the video from last week is about Spirit Quartz, so go check that out if you want to know more. And also I have a bud down here as well as full flowers, so there's that energy of new beginnings as well as like full bloom, which I really love. And then I have one of my spell candles, and that is for Babe over there. Babe's Little Deaths is what that candle is. They're available on store should you so desire. But Babe has the energy of the crone, but also the maiden, and people tend to forget that. They tend to like focus on Babe as just a crone goddess, and just a war goddess, and just terrifying, and it's not that at all in my experience. I mean, she can be, and she will be should she need to be, but she also very frequently visualizes into my psyche within the sensuous, beautiful maiden. And sometimes she likes to do both and turn up as a sensual, beautiful maiden with half a skeleton face. And I'm like, oh, okay, right, yeah. And it's still this incredible beauty, but it's just a little bit of a macabre beauty, I guess. And it kind of gets you to question beauty and sensuality and love, and really think about those energies. But I really wanted her here in this spell work because she is the cauldron, and she is the crone, and the crone in all pantheons is considered, guardian of death and rebirth, and quite frequently this is physically represented with a cauldron, and it's sort of, like the mysteries of life, the magic of life in this incredible cauldron, which is symbolic for all sorts of things. You have actual physical cauldrons, and they become a representative of the goddess's womb, the dark place, going into the underworld, coming out on the quest, coming back changed in that rebirth. And so I often work with Bave, and Bave is often the preferred energy that speaks to me. I think that I'm probably much more of a crone energy than anything else. I have my mother and maiden energies too, but I think I've been old since I was very young, if that makes any sense. So the dream wish spell is basically about taking elements from your dreams of a positive fashion, although you could of course do this in a banishing fashion as well, and taking those symbols and inviting them into your life, particularly when they're positive. Again, you could flip this and do a banishing to banish anything that's sort of plaguing you dreams, giving you nightmares, making you unhappy. But I wanted to focus on a more positive drawing energy. And we have reds and whites and pinks here, and the spirit quartz with its pink and red, and it's very friendly and warm and loving, and it really does draw that energy in. It's all about drawing those energies in, that your subconscious has already said, you know, this is about, this energy is here, these are perhaps the things we need, and so then you follow that up with a physical intention in the physical realm, separate to dreaming, and you create a setup like this one, and you can add whatever you desire. If you want to have candles in there, if you want to have crystals in there, if you want to have herbs in there, you want to have flowers in there, you want to have... I've used all of them because I enjoy all of these energies in particular. But I think it's just a really good way of honouring your dreams first and foremost, saying, you know, to the universe, I hear you, I see what you're saying in my dream work. I've paid attention to the messages you're sending me, universe, or God, or goddess, or however you best see source energy, and I'm paying attention, and I'm noticing, and perhaps I've kept a dream journal. I jot down things which I think are important, but I remember a lot of my dreams, particularly the important ones. So. And it's just like, yeah, I'm aware, you know, I'm aware of these processes. I'm aware that they mean something. And I want those energies that you have, you know, blessed me with perhaps already, or you've sort of poked me for, these are something that I have coming in a sort of precognitive way, or things that I need. So I want to draw those to me in terms of spell work. So I really like this idea. I love the setup. I think the imagery worked really well. I think it's a really evocative and beautiful, visually beautiful setup. And that's important to me. And I think when you're working in terms of dream work and things that you want to manifest, it's important that you find your setups visually appealing. Things get turned upside down in dreams on purpose, you know. You see the world in a completely different way, and it's the way that you are viewing something with your eyes, but you're not, because you're asleep. So it's a very visual process, dreaming, for the most part. You tend to remember images far more clearly than anything else, although you will likely remember a feeling and sometimes sounds and scents as well, but it tends to be the visuals that people remember and focus on, indeed, given that dream dictionaries work in terms of what symbol did you see in your dream rather than what did you smell or feel, which is kind of a sad thing when you think about it, because if you can remember what you felt and anything odd, an odd smell, an odd feeling, an odd sensation of any kind, and were you cold and were you warm, and what was the feeling of the ground under your fingers, and all that sort of thing, that can really help you interpret your dreams even further. And that's kind of why we're doing a physical spell work representation, because that helps to bring all of that together. You can look at this and you can think, well, there's this beautiful artwork here, but you can also sense that imagery. You can smell those roses, you can feel the warmth from the candle, you can touch the bark of the wood and feel its grain, and it gives it a more tactile, physical embodiment within this world, and then you go ahead and you focus on that, and you do the spell work, and you light your candle, and you state your readiness for these energies to come, and you draw these energies to you within spell work, and it creates magic. I just think it's a really lovely idea. I really like it. I was really keen to do this once I'd had the dream, and so I really wanted to share that with you guys too. So that's it for this week's Working Witch. Many blessings.